Welcome back. I've heard many definitions of teams in my time, and those which apply to organizations or departments, business as usual, as well as then teams that are project teams, that are temporary, as we've mentioned in earlier videos. We hear about self-organizing teams, squads, tribes, hubs, huddles, cohorts, whatever you might want to call them, in a departmental sense, in a business as usual sense, where, yes, we break off into task and finish groups, tiger teams for a while to solve a problem within a department. But the key thing about them is that they involve longer-term relationships. If difficulties arise, if there's conflict in this team or department, there's time to fix it while people follow the business as usual process of their department in order to keep the department producing what it should produce. So if there's ill feeling, it doesn't have to hurt the organization if it's not allowed to drag on for too long. And for example, in a department, if a manager is absent, there's usually a senior person who could also step into the gap and keep things going and at least be the peacekeeper while you wait. One useful definition of teams that I found was on one leadership course I attended. They used a book called The Wisdom of Teams by Katzenbach and Smith. And this very useful definition of a normal team within an organization, a business as usual team, is that it is a team, a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose and performance goals and approach for which they hold themselves mutually accountable. Now, when you add the word temporary to team, when you add the word project or product, then you see things change. And the reason is that those groups are temporary. Those groups that come together for a project are temporary, they are cross-functional, they are different disciplines, and therefore they are personalities who haven't worked together before, and they just have, temperaments, different strengths, etc. that they bring, different attitudes. There's that I know best, this is my area of speciality. And what do you know? And you're an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I talk over you in meetings, etc. But in a long-term department, these things can settle down. In a project team, you have to get very performant or high performance and delivering within a very short space of time. And you can't afford to lose time with bickering and little bits of sabotage or abdication of responsibility because people aren't happy with the person who has to hand off their work. So the temporary nature of project teams complicates things for you. One of the reasons is that the person that you're managing within the team doesn't depend on their career decisions being made by you, but they do rely to an extent on the recommendations and feedback you give back to their managers when the project ends. Here is the definition of a project team, which comes from the Project Management Institute's body of knowledge. A project team is a temporary group of individuals assigned to all or part of a project to deliver the project product as defined in the product definition within the project constraints as defined in the project definition. But these are experts, and therefore they need to be treated with the kind of respect which is their due, and the best way that you're going to get that sense and they're going to receive that kind of feeling is if you develop your coaching skills. And that's because you have to accelerate them going through this introduction and then the forming and the norming and the performing and what's the conflict one? And then the adjourning and ending of that project team. But your role is to embrace the diversity and encourage them to embrace their diversity, for them to realize that for them to achieve their individual personal success ambitions, they need this team to succeed. And how do they then learn how to relate to one another, how to give room for other people's opinions? Because if we look at the coaching approach to things and the GROW model, then imagine if your team members take on board this fact that we can look at the problem, we can decide what the reality is of the problem, and we can start to brainstorm amongst our collective intelligence what the solution is, and we commit to each other to achieving the goals or direction which we set at the end of that brainstorming problem-solving session. So this key driver for project team success is cohesion, it is team self-respect and individual self-respect. And as the manager, as the project manager, as one of the team, that falls to you in a big way. I'll see you on the other side.